Hello everybody, my name is Raven Dragoon and I'm here to review a replay by a Reddit user by the name of Fezon. I don't know if he wants it to be pronounced Fiazon or something, F-E-A-Z-O-N. He's a fairly low MMR player who has been struggling, and I'm here to offer advice and tips on how to optimally play 5 position and hopefully point him in the right direction on how to improve. When trying to offer advice to somebody who is extremely low, or even just 2.2k, 2.4k, I think this guy's like 1.8 or something. It's difficult to say everything that I'm thinking because a lot of the stuff that I think is very, very nuanced, and a lot of the things that that users like him would benefit from are more basic, and I will say that probably the most important thing is just point him in the right direction. I will say that I learned most of my supporting from Purge Teaches Day 9 Dota 2, which is fucking great. Alright, so looking at starting items, I like that you got Ignite. Ordinarily I would say something like, oh, you don't need a skill until later in the game. But on Ogre, there's almost no situation where you don't skill Ignite first. It's just a great level 1 ability, and the other two skills that you can get at level 1 just don't really compare. This is your first mistake. Taking an obs and planting it at the start is normal. Planting it here is not really necessary. You know that the creep equilibrium is going to be probably around here when the lane is, when laning stage is going on. So unless you're diving, you don't really need this ward. You're going to need it around minute 7 when Storm Spirit has level 6 and he's going to be doing some divey bullshit. Maybe Faceless Void is going to use that ward. But most likely you're not going to use this during the first 6 minutes that is going to last. In addition, the tower just saw you walk all the way through here. And it's going to see you here. And any player who's watching the minimap will see you place this. This is not hard to deduce. When I play 5 position, I always start with a sentry ward because people place obvious observers and I get free D wards off that stuff. To be fair, this is a 2k MMR match, and most likely they're not going to deal with it, but this ward is also not terribly useful. If I were playing Ogre in this match, what I would have done is I would have walked through here, hidden the trees, stood here, and then planted a ward here. You don't reveal if you do this right, and it's an excellent ward that gives you vision through the river of anyone TPing in, and of the lane, and through here. I would argue that it's even more useful than this one, even though this one's deep in their territory. Other thoughts on starting items? I'm not a huge fan of Branch in this patch, especially on a hero like Ogre. Ogre is kind of starved for cash at the start of the game, and I feel like there are a few circumstances where you would rather have an Iron Branch than another Clarity, because you're going to be casting a lot of spells to try and zone out the enemy offlaners. Ordinarily, when Ogre goes to lane, you go to lane with Tango, Mango, Clarity, and where is it? Oh, jeez. And Orb of Venom. If you use Orb of Venom, that means you have 2 slows that are fairly significant. It's 14% slow and a 20% slow. So you basically just pick one of these guys, cast Ignite on him, walk up to him and whack him. And because you start with 8 armor and 5 HP regen, you do not give a shit about any of their responses, because both of these guys suck at level 1. This is more difficult in a low MMR game because you get wonky situations like dual lanes. When I play in like 4K matches, you very rarely see people dual lane. You almost always have some 4 position roamer or even a jungler or another support sitting mid like a lich. It's pretty common. So you will very often see a solo offlaner, and this is where Ogre really shines because he just grabs Ignite, he grabs an Orb of Venom, and he just walks up to the enemy offlaner and just makes him suffer. So it's a little bit harder to do this versus 2 people, but you should be doing it. Alright, you forced out that thing. which is fine. Now, move around here and just keep whacking. I like how you're playing this fairly aggressively. It would be going better if you had Orb of Venom. But look how much space you're making for this Chaos Knight. I like this. And you've burned that guy's regen almost completely, and you've suffered almost none. You've used one Tango, and that one Tango is going to bring you up to full health. I think if you had used the Ignite on the Enigma, maybe even dive tower very slightly, you could have killed him. Now it's time to just get back to whacking. I like the body blocking. This is great. This is excellent. I don't agree with you tangoing there. You are so low, it's almost worth more to go back to base. On the other hand, you are an ogre, so one tango will get you to like 3/4 health because you have 5 base regen. In any case, using that tango means you're now committed to staying in lane, and this can be a little bit difficult versus people like them or against heroes like this, because you're not good in lane if you're not at 3/4 HP and whacking people. So you now have committed yourself to 45 seconds more of standing here and soaking experience. At this point, I think the correct thing to do is to walk over here and go pull the small camp into the lane, so the lane gets to attacking the small camp, and then you at the correct time pull the aggression from the large camp and then connect it over, and that can get you a lot of experience off of killing the having your own lane creeps kill these neutrals. I think as you are about to do that, you should also clarity. Yeah, look how fast you regenerate health. It's crazy. You did mention in your Reddit comment that this is a pretty wonky game because the Storm Spirit and someone else were just bitching at each other the whole time. So it looks like your Chaos Knight ferried himself a salve. That's fine. Alright, so they killed all the trees here. Another thing to note, you are soaking experience here. In fact, you are almost a full level ahead of your Chaos Knight because he had to run back here to get the salve from the courier. When you play a 5 position like Ogre, you don't really want to be taking experience. It's kind of counterintuitive, but even though you are laning bottom, you don't want to be in lane very much. If you're playing Ogre against a dual off lane, you want to be pulling and connecting. And if they walk forward to try and interrupt the pull, you just say fuck you and hit them, right? If you're playing Ogre against a solo off lane, this is where you really shine because you just whack them. In either case, you're not really absorbing experience from the creeps. For instance, if Enigma's over here and he's solo off lane and you just spend time whacking him, the creeps are over here. You're not going to get experience from this, but in exchange, neither is Enigma, and that's a good trade for your team. That's kind of the whole point of playing a support like Ogre, whose whole job is to bully weak offlaners. However, this is going to be difficult to play because you're up against a dual off lane, which is something that I admittedly don't have a whole lot of experience with because it's bad. I don't think you should be using Ignite unless you see an immediate kill potential, because now you're at 0 mana again. You almost want to save your mana until a kill is about to happen, which is totally possible because this guy has a lot of kill potential level 1. Yeah, that level 1 stun is really terrible. One other thing, I don't think Stout Shield was the right call in terms of starting items. I think you'd be better off getting an Orb of Venom in almost all circumstances, because Ogre already has 8 armor and a lot of HP regen. And the reason you buy Stout Shield is because you intend to be tanking damage from creeps as your support pulls. If this is not happening and you are not jungling, you don't really need a Stout Shield. You'd be better off getting like a ring of protection, building into Basilius or into an urn. But especially on Ogre, I don't feel like you need more durability for like the first 15 minutes of the game. You're already pretty tanky. I think the correct thing to buy is an Orb of Venom, a Mango, and a Clarity, because Mango adds to your already crazy HP regen, and it also gives you burst mana so that you can use both of these spells at once. Like in a situation like this, you would have probably not had to use your last Tango, because you would have been regenning HP from the Mango the whole time, and you would be able to give yourself burst mana if the CK decided to jump on this Enigma. Because right now, if you are at full mana and CK decides to kill this Enigma, he dies. You have a lot of burst damage. You have Chaos Bolt and Reality Rift, and the Enigma would get teleported like to here by the Reality Rift, and then you can just Fire Blast and Ignite and he's dead. One of the easiest ways to climb an MMR when you're at this sort of ranking is to just realize when enemies are out of position and take advantage of it. I got to like 3.3k playing mid just because people would hang out of position. And if you play the right hero and can recognize it, you can punish them for it really heavily. Yeah. So if you rewind this by like 45 seconds, you've not been tanking damage from anybody for the last 45 seconds, which means you could have popped this Clarity 45 seconds sooner. If you know you're just going to be walking back and forth to rune, maybe pulling, maybe doing that shit, non-hero damage does not break the Clarity anymore, so you can use your Clarity while you're pulling. Purge has a couple of good instructionals on how to pull and how to connect and that stuff. I would highly recommend checking that out. Alright, I'm glad you're getting a fast boots and not getting something else. I see a lot of supports wait on their boots way too long. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about getting 2 levels in Ignite. If you haven't yet, you should absolutely try doing a game of Ogre where you max Bloodlust first. It is the same movement speed bonus as a Yasha, and it's more attack speed bonus than a Hyperstone. And it's available at level 7, which you'll definitely hit by like sub 15 minutes. That's pretty crazy for a basic ability. And if you've never tried it, you should absolutely play a game with a friend who's playing Void, and he just maxes his bash first, and then chronos somebody, and you just put a max Bloodlust on somebody at like minute 11, and because he attacks like twice a second, the person just dies to an unfarmed Void. It's pretty fun. You have an excellent team right now to go max Bloodlust, because Storm does all of his damage through Overload, which is an attack modifier, and if you get a Bloodlust off on him, he hits the Overload proc so fast that he can almost immediately move on to casting the next spell. Speeding up that interval in between when he casts and then he next attacks is pretty important. Same with your generic right clickers like Void and Chaos Knight. At this point you should take the 42-second pull. Right now you just pull this into the lane creeps. The other alternative, you can stack camps, but it looks like right now you're just kind of absent-mindedly walking between bottom and mid, which is one of the chronic problems of low MMR supports. It looks like you're angling for a kill on this Invoker, or at least you're trying to protect him, which is admirable, but as you said, the Storm is being a whiny bitch. I like that you're just bullying this guy. This is definitely taking advantage of Ogre's strengths, but you might die for it because you chased too far. I would have liked that more if your Void had, if your Storm Spirit had more items or more levels, or wasn't being a whiny bitch. I'm glad you got Bloodlust level 4. Level 2 Fire Blast is pretty shitty. You already have mana problems, and it ups the mana cost, and it doesn't give you much increase in damage. If I recall correctly, the average increase in damage for a spell throughout all heroes in Dota is about 80, so or 75 or so. So this is only a 55 damage increase per level, which is not really much. All this is just an extra stun, and it doesn't increase in duration every time you level it either. Okay, you walk to lane only to TP top. Looks like you're going to get this guy though, which is pretty good. I actually like the fact that you walk to lane. A lot of supports will TP to lane, including myself, and it's just a bad habit that we have. And then we find that we need to TP somewhere to save somebody, and then we just can't because it's on cooldown for the next 80 seconds. TP has a very long cooldown. Used to be shorter. It's kind of one of the things that's dictating the current meta. More shit talk, good stuff. I like the fact that you're taking farm here. Because no one else is here to take this, and a lot of supports will say, oh no, I won't ever take farm. But I like the fact that you're just recognizing that there's no one else here who's better suited for it, so you're just taking it. So, I think you made a mistake in not purchasing raindrops right now. I'm glad you have a stick. Stick is very important. Their team doesn't cast a whole lot, so stick is not critical, but definitely still a good pickup because it's so cheap. It's hard to argue with. But raindrops are very, very good and underpurchased at this rating. It gives you more mana regen than a Ring of Basilius and damage block versus magical spells, which is crazy good. It's not so good versus their team because they don't have a whole lot of magic nukes outside of Invoker. But it's still enough mana to possibly get you a couple more kills. I think a lot of supports try to go arcanes as the be-all end-all for their mana problems, but I think stick raindrops is plenty. And doing things like this where you just randomly ignite the Slark only for him to immediately purge off the ignite, that's a big waste of mana, and avoiding things like that will help you conserve a lot of mana. If you had conserved it, you might have another ignite and you might have died sooner. That guy almost got away. I will say, however, that if you're going to get an 8-minute Arcane Boots, or if you run into a couple of good assists early on and you get some lane farm like you did, it's hard to argue with getting Arcane Boots if you can. Because if you just happen to have 1,000 gold from a bit of luck, I would definitely say just get the Arcane Boots anyway. They're definitely great. Infused Raindrop and Stick are just ways to get mana that aren't that expensive, if that makes sense. So Raindrop is kind of like most situations or in a pinch, whereas if you just happen to get a random influx of gold, Arcane Boots are still great. Okay, I think now's the time that you stack these ancient camps, because it's about to stack. Or at least this camp, which you maybe could have made it to if you bloodlusted yourself. Going home I think is also fine. You can use these shrines in base. A lot of people forget this, but early game you can use these shrines and they actually heal you faster than Fountain. And you can just have the courier, why do you have two? You can just have the courier give you the thing you need, which is probably just TP scroll. You do need a second TP scroll, however, because the odds are you won't be able to get to a shop to buy another one by the time it's off cooldown. I always try to leave base with at least 2, sometimes 3 if I just anticipate I'm going to be farming and maybe ganking after that. Alright, so this is where you see the power of the burst damage. Wow, this guy fucked up. You needed to ignite that guy sooner. Okay, good. Let's rewatch that. Okay, you need to bloodlust him now. Because you're at full mana, there's no reason not to bloodlust. And even the level 1 bloodlust is pretty effective. Okay, so the replay's glitched, but all these trees are dead because of Midnight Pulse. That's how he was able to see him. The Enigma actually fucked up real bad. He should have not broken the trees there, because it gave you guys free vision. So, you need to ignite him right now, and you need to bloodlust your CK right now. And then once you've blown your load, you can just walk up and right click. If you can see this guy, which you can, because the trees don't exist and the replay's fucky, you can try to stun the Spirit Breaker out of his charge, However, this is difficult because you have a very long cast animation and your range on this ability is pretty bad. It's why I always go the cast range talent on him, and I almost always get an Aether Lens. Yeah. And then ignite him. If you would ignite him sooner, he might have died sooner, and possibly your CK would have lived. If you'd sticked there, you might have... it probably wouldn't have mattered. I think if you'd had a Bloodlust on the CK, he would have lived. And your Storm is so depressing. I hate people who do this. Just bitches. And Invoker couldn't even land a Sunstrike. Classic 2K shit. See? That Shrine's coming in handy. I suppose if you use it earlier, that wouldn't have happened, but this game's really funny, so who knows. I'm not so sure. You should... okay, I guess getting the tome's fine. Yeah, grab your TP. Now's the time where you want to think about maybe upgrading to a magic wand. And then... If I were playing this game, I think the main thing that I need to be worried about is canceling the black hole, because we don't have a whole lot of great black hole cancel on this team. If like CK's thing, I don't think is long enough range to really cancel the black hole, so you're it. And your cast range on Fire Blast is so bad, you're gonna have trouble canceling it if you're across the hole from Enigma. So in this game, I would go cast range as a talent, and I'd also get Aether Lens first item. And then after that, probably Force Staff and Glimmer. I like that you're going Force Staff, it's a great item, but the order of your first items is really good. I think a case could be made for going Force Staff first, however, so don't worry about it. But definitely Aether is a must this game. He's gonna hole. Oh man, he didn't have it off cooldown? Why do you TP in then? Yeah. I think Force Staff's good. I think Aether's good. I personally would have gone Aether first, but a case could be made for whatever. You need to be casting Bloodlust more, however. You have an Arcane Boots. And in this situation, I would have picked up a casual Void Stone to go into Aether Lens. Like, you should be bloodlusting that guy so you can farm faster. It's minor, but... well, it's not really minor. It's 40 attack speed. That's like almost a Hyperstone. You also should pick up a TP scroll from this side shop. And maybe you should have waited on your Ring of Health so you could also pick that up from the side shop. Same for the Void Stone. So okay, minor thing. You killed this creep by just right-clicking it, but in exchange you missed out on 2 creeps over here. Just lead this creep back to the wave, and it'll go back to hitting the other creeps. And then you can kill this creep, kill this creep, kill this creep. Just minor inefficiencies like that are another thing that causes supports to miss out on gold. Same for carries at this level. Okay. So I'm actually going to rewind this a little bit and see if you can see that Enigma. Okay. So missing out on these 2 creeps because you're soloing one for no reason. Missing out on the siege creep. And... okay. You couldn't see the Enigma, so I don't really mind this. At higher levels of play, you need to watch who is not on the map, and you can even do things like keep track of who has what spells off cooldown. You know he's close to having Hole because you could theoretically like note mentally when he last used it, and you know a level 1 has more than a 3-minute cooldown. You also know Spirit Breaker's a big threat. And you also know you don't really have any durability items. This is kind of the awkward part of Ogre where you can't really be the beefy brawler that you were in lane. And I always have trouble transitioning when I play him from being the beefy dude to being the I'm standing behind my team and bloodlusting them dude. Because you know that the enemy team has a Spirit Breaker, you need to just be running. And I think you should have bloodlusted yourself sooner. At this point, you are dead. Oh no, no one has detection. Very common. Oops. Oh my god. This Invoker. I love it. I mean, I hate it, but I love it, kind of. Man, 3 couriers. Okay. First thing you should do is bloodlust both of these guys. Get it. See, these fights are going okay, but they'd be going more okay if you were bloodlusting. This thing's pretty cheap. 65 mana when you have 10 times that in your pool, plus an Arcane Boots, plus Stick, and theoretically plus like the Void Stone or the Infused Raindrop. There's basically no reason to not cast this thing, basically every time it's off cooldown. And it when you only have level 1 multicast, the Bloodlust cooldown is pretty long. It's 15 seconds. So you just kind of need to be using it a lot. Like, your 2 priorities this game are Void and Chaos Knight, but as you level multicast, the cooldown on Bloodlust gets lower. There's a Bloodlust cooldown reduction attached to it, so you can be using it more and more. Okay, looks like you're going to go kill this Enigma. You should know that he has Hole, probably, because you haven't seen him use it for a long time. Luckily, you keep him stun locked enough that it doesn't matter. This guy's still not Bloodlust. So I think the reason you're not bloodlusting is because you think you're gonna run out of mana, because you were out of mana earlier in the game. But you gotta recognize when things change, and you now have an Arcane Boots on both you and Rubik, right? This guy should be bloodlusted. Thank God. Now, as soon as he starts hitting, you're gonna see how fast he's hitting. Actually, let's rewind that a bit. Okay, so you finally bloodlusted him. Slark uses his ult, so you can't hit him. This guy is very clearly about to ult, and Rubik already used his telekinesis. Rubik should cast Malefice right here, so that this guy can't ult without getting interrupted. But I think Rubik just stole it. Yep. Okay. So whenever you see or hear Slark about to Dark Pact, you know he's about to purge shit. And it's the strongest spell, so it purges everything. It purges like stuns, silences, almost any debuff you can think of it purges. So Fire Blasting him when it's about to trigger means that you're going to waste almost the entire duration of your stun. The Chaos Knight made the same mistake by Chaos Bolting. You want to wait until Dark Pact is over and then like half a second more just to be sure that he's not about to instantly purge you to save it. I think if either of you had done that, that was a dead Slark. Hello, Slark. Yep. Dead boy. So one thing, you both stacked your stuns, which I think was unintentional. just to make sure you're aware of this, there's something called stun stacking, which is not desirable. It's when two people stun at the same time. This means that the duration of the stun is wasted. For instance, so let's say a lion walks up to somebody and then he earth spikes them and then immediately hexes them. It means that he's wasting the duration of his earth spike because he interrupted it with a hex. In this case, it was Chaos Knight, Chaos Bolting, and then you interrupted it with a Firebolt, so that the duration of the Firebolt was irrelevant and was only... It was just the damage that you were doing, essentially, because it was entirely overlapped with the Chaos Bolt stun. You ended up getting him, but if he'd had more survivability items, that could have been tighter, and the difference between the kill and not killing could have been the stun stacking. I think that was unintentional, however, because you both casted at almost the exact same time. I wish you weren't putting any points into Fire Blast, because it adds to your mana problems, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of damage. It's like 55 extra damage per level, which is pretty crap. You should be leveling Bloodlust even more, because Void, when he gets a Chrono off on somebody with Mask of Madness plus probably Power Treads, can just obliterate somebody with max Bloodlust. I've seen it happen. It's just disgusting. Also, Fire Blast is more relevant as a nuke once you have more levels of multicast, and you're more likely to get a 2 times or 3 times proc on it. Like, that didn't do much, right? That was essentially a waste of mana. Personally, I really like Ogre as a hero for people to learn when they're just learning how to play support in general. Because he's simple, right? There's not a whole lot that's hard about him. You just stay with your team. Yeah, see, that happened again. You're wasting your disable. But I think in this case it was also unintentional. Luckily, he dies, because Bloodlust is great and you remember to use it. Oh man. Fun fact. I love when people bitch about enemy abilities, and I love it even more when they bitch about enemy abilities when they don't know how they work. I was once playing Brewmaster, and I was in the off lane, and I walked up to an Omni Knight, and I just crit him because, you know, that's how my passive works. It gives you a 100% chance to crit if you haven't attacked anything for the past 13 seconds. And he bitched in all chat, what the fuck, first hit crit every time? So I led him to believe I was hacking for a solid 18 minutes before finally revealing that he was in fact just a moron who couldn't read my ability. Oh shit, the Spanish. So even though I think I would have gone Aether Lens here, Force Staff is almost never a bad item, and you'll probably save somebody with it. One thing to note, however, Force Staff does not break you out of Slark's Leech, and as you play more Dota, you will get to know more of these interactions, and knowing them will help you choose what items to go first. And when you're playing a support, knowing which items to go first can be critical, because you don't get much money, right? You're only going to get like one major item before you're probably going to be irrelevant. In this case, I would not have Bloodlusted the tower. I would have Bloodlusted myself and then hit the creeps with it. It would have helped you get the last hits. That said, remembering to Bloodlust the tower is really important. I've had games where I get like solo kills on people because they dive me and forget I can Bloodlust towers. Especially if you max Bloodlust first. I think you need to be carrying a TP, and you need to be bottom right now. But, okay, so yeah, you're looking at the map and you realize, oh shit, neither do I have a TP, nor am I able to go there. I like that you don't start walking bottom, you just keep farming mid. Although now it looks like you're about to get the rune, and are fantasizing about defending this. I think the correct thing to do here is just Bloodlust this and walk away. And hope they keep pushing. If you have Chrono out, this is going to be a fairly easy time to defend tier 2. Because you just Bloodlust the Void, and then you just fucking Rex House. you don't really need a Bloodlust Rubik, it's just movement speed for him. He did not get the damage talent. If he had gotten the damage talent, the Bloodlust would be more relevant on the Rubik, because 60 damage is pretty good for range hero. It's even better if you have free Hyperstone from your friendly neighborhood Ogre Magi. Okay, now it looks like you're going mech. One thing to note about mech is that it has a huge mana cost. So going for it is kind of difficult. Like 225 mana cost. Are you prepared to pay that? You don't have it right now, and you are at half mana after throwing a couple of ignites and bloodlusting a couple of people. This is gonna pretty much put you out of mana most fights. If you're okay with this, especially like if you have a CM on your team, I think mech can be a good choice, especially since their whole team is pretty nukey and pretty right-clicky. The thing is, I don't think mech's the choice here. I think I'd rather have an Aether Lens for the extra cast range, but if you run into an influx of gold, mech is still pretty good, right? Like, it's hard to argue with shit like that. Okay. Looks like you stun him during the telekinesis again, so it's more stun stacking. This guy needs to be bloodlusted, or your Storm Spirit needs to be bloodlusted. Good. So I wouldn't have Force Staffed away. It's pretty clear that that guy wasn't about to kill you because he doesn't hit hard enough. I understand that you're afraid of the Slark, but now you're far away and can't stun him. Yeah, you keep stunning during the lift. Wait till it's over. Yeah, I think if you had not Force Staffed sooner, and then you would have possibly gotten the Slark kill, and then made it out that time. Your Void also needs to be fighting. I don't know why he's not participating. Like, if he goes Mask of Madness, that heavily implies that he's going to be going early game fighting. But then he keeps his Quelling Blade in his backpack while he farms, which I don't agree with it. He could have the Quelling Blade in his inventory instead of the Stout Shield, and that would be a lot more efficient because he's already regenerating the health from the creeps anyway. So he doesn't have health problems that Stout Shield would alleviate. Oh well. Stupendous. I would be more okay with you going mech if you had done Aether Lens Force Mech, because Aether Lens gives you even more mana pool and more mana regen. The other option in this game is to go with Solar Crest, which is pretty excellent versus their lineup. Alright, stun. Good. Yeah, look how fast this guy hits. He hits like twice a second at level 20 or at minute 22, just because he has a Hyperstun, Mask of Madness, and a Max Bloodlust on him. It's crazy good. You don't even have to have damage items to kill somebody if you chrono them, even if you're like super early in the game. I like the fact that you're farming this because you know they're bot and they all just died, so no one's here to threaten you. Alright, your TP's on cooldown. Correct thing to do here, I think, is just keep farming and wait for your TP to come up. You're not going to get there in time. So, this happens a lot where I think, oh, I need to go help that person, I'm way too far away. And I realize that it's just useless. This kind of aimless wandering where you don't really have a direction that you're going, you're just kind of walking around, is very common. But if you're going to do it, you at least need to be bloodlusting people every time it's off cooldown. It's 10-second cooldown right now, which is better than it was sooner, so there's really no excuse to not be doing it. Looks like you have your mech. You say you finish it with a Guardian Greaves. I think by the time you have mech, or if you're going to do an early-ish mech like this, nice, nice. So if you're going to do an early-ish mech like this, I'm okay with you just immediately finishing it with a Guardian Greaves, because that removes the mana cost from it, and it also lets you purge disables like Silence or Dust. It's one of the reasons why I go Guardian Greaves as one of my first items when I'm playing Bounty Hunter. Also because it's just really good. It's 5 armor, plus 5 all. It's just good to have. It's good to carry the mech even if you're not the... Even if you're not benefiting from its use totally. So, your Storm Spirit may be saying something like, here, come here, we'll kill this Invoker. But if you walk towards him, you're kind of dealing with the creeps right now, so he'll immediately know, oh, they see me. So I like the fact that you're just farming this. Okay, Bloodlust yourself. If you Bloodlust yourself like 15 seconds ago, you would have been here 5 seconds sooner. And as soon as this guy comes out of invis, just stun. Good. You're ready for that. Good. Keeping up the Bloodlust. Alright, now you need to force. Yeah. I think you could have avoided taking like 500 damage if you forced that sooner. Alright, Shrine. Good. Yeah, your Void needs to be TPing in. He's pretty much just playing the farm game right now. If Void TP's in, this is a double kill for him. You can't kill him, you just need to leave. Yeah, this Void just is playing very strangely. He bought Mask of Madness, which kind of implies that he's going to be doing a lot of early game shit, and then he just doesn't fight. Yeah, Bloodlust, okay. Fine. Oh. See, now's a great time to use mech and you don't have the mana. That's why I would have, personally, I would have done either Arcane's Force Aether or Arcane's Aether Force. Then do mech. Although, admittedly, that's a pretty late mech. I just don't feel like Ogre is a great mech carrier. This game, I don't really feel like you have a good mech carrier, because Rubik also just really wants either a Yules or a Force Staff. Probably Force Staff. Oh, Jesus. This Void doesn't have detection. Note to all 2K players watching this, even if you are not a support, carry fucking detection so you can get solo kills on people. So many people miss that shit just because they don't have it. My support should be carrying detection, but what if you're diving somebody, Mr. Storm Spirit? Alright, now you have Greaves, so this is solving a lot of your problems. Because that reduces the mana cost to 0, which is pretty good. Now you're going Yules. I'm okay with Yules. It's a longish range disable that can stop the Enigma from black holing. And right now, Enigma does not have Black King Bar. He doesn't have Blink. He has Greaves, which I think is pretty bad. Another thing, I like the fact that you have all your slots full. I just think you have them kind of backwards. Keep smoke in your backpack until you need it, and then keep either stick or windlace in your inventory until you need to use the smoke. A lot of mistakes that low MMR support players make is they buy too many very expensive items to fill like one slot. Like they rush Arcane Boots very first thing without getting any other things. Like I've seen Rubik's go boots of speed, no regen into arcane boots at minute 3 or something crazy, and I don't like it. It's sacrificing too much. To use a crude metaphor, it's like masturbating and then cleaning up the jizz with your shirt and then realizing that you're still wearing the shirt. You might be solving the problem of mana by getting a 4-minute arcane boots rushing it, but you're really just delaying it until later. Like when you have to take off the jizz stained shirt while you're still wearing it. You maybe didn't need a TP there. You could have just force staffed. Or maybe you could bloodluster yourself. Alright. Ooh. It's unfortunate. Whack. He dead. Now you just get pulled. I think you needed to stun the Enigma there to keep him from pulling. But you might not have just... You might have intended to click on him. In this case, force staff yourself. Oh, he has a blink. Yeah, this Invoker's slippery as fuck. I think Void should get a blink, personally. Just to try and get some catch for that guy. So, when did you hit level 10? Like, it was like minute 17. And you got 60 gold per minute. So that's 12 minutes of 60 gold per minute. So that's like 720 gold. That's not a whole lot, right? You kind of see why I would get the cast range. Like, the gold is just not adding up to be much, especially when you're playing support. And your impact in the game falls off drastically after minute 17 or so, or minute 15. Like, most of the impact the supports have happens very early. So this gold per minute talent is actually not doing much, whereas if you get a critical black hole cancel off with cast range, it's already paid for itself. Alright, you should kill this guy. He's gonna chrono. Yeah, okay, so this is just too much chasing. I'm pretty sure you fire blasted and... Or no, you didn't. I thought this guy had a Lincolns for some reason. He's just hard to catch. Your team doesn't have very good catch burn. I don't think that guy should have chrono for the Slark. The Slark is actually super weak right now. He's one item. You need to be bloodlusting your team, especially Chaos Knight. Especially Void. Now is also the time that you could consider using Greaves to try and heal up the mana on this Void, but I guess it's on cooldown. Okay. Yeah, you need to be using Bloodlust more. So imagine if you just still had a mech and were not with Greaves yet, you would have been out of mana for so long. Like, the difference between mech and Greaves is crazy, because, like, if you have Arcane Boots plus mech, you're still at, like, a net 115 mana loss, because mech costs mana, and Arcane Boots doesn't give you more than mech cost. But once you get Greaves, you're at plus 160 mana, so it's a huge difference once you get the recipe. But like, say you were having a worse game, and you went Greaves, second item after Force Staff, it's gonna be really terrible until you have the Greaves. Because right now, look, you're out of mana, and you have the Greaves, right? Like, Ogre has a lot of mana problems. Okay, good. Okay, good Force Staff. Might die here. Okay. That's so good. Mechanism, when you're below 20% health, you get 15 extra regeneration. So you almost want to wait until after you're above 20% health and your regeneration slows down to use your burst heal. Just minor finesse stuff like that. Oh, you just need to instantly force staff out of here. Rip. Yeah, bloodlust him and then die. Oh no, you can't. Fuck, full staff is so hard to play against. You are dead, my friend. Looks like your team gets a lot of shit done while you're dead. Alright, then you come up alive, and then you don't know what to do, so you go back to farming camps. And then your team's like, oh, let's go Roshan. Oh, let's like push top or something. This guy's gonna Chrono for the lifestealer, which I guess is okay. It's just like this late in the game is Void, you almost want to be hitting multi-person Chronos. Good that you're bloodlusting him. You have nothing better to do, so why not also bloodlust the Storm or the Rubik? I mean, you're hoping for the multicast, right? But like, it's now a 5-second cooldown because you have level 3 multicast. So Ags is real fun when you're playing Ogre, and you are having mana problems. So the irony is that even though Ags costs, or the Unrefined Fire Blast costs a shitload of mana to use, you know that you're always going to have the Unrefined Fire Blast available because it's like 60% of your current mana. So even if you get burned down to 0 from like EMP, you know you have a Fire Blast, which is good. Other options for your next item could be like an Aether Lens. Even this late, it's still pretty good because of the cast range. Or like a Lotus Orb. I guess Lotus Orb isn't very good this game, actually. It doesn't really purge anything. Lotus Orb reflects spells, but also purges, and this is one of the main reasons people buy it. It is the main reason people buy it. The reflect is mostly just a side effect. But you can purge silences off of your allies. If they bought like an Orchid for Storm, that could be pretty good because you can purge the silence off of him. Other options are like Solar Crest because they're almost all physical damage. But I think Ags is not bad here. The risk of the trap that I think a lot of players fall into is they say things like, oh, I'm going to build a fun item, or something like that, when the correct thing to do is just to buy the correct item. Glad that you held your stun there, and so did Storm Spirit. Damn, things get a low cooldown. A lot of players just buy whatever is fun, but they don't buy whatever is correct. Too many low MMR players do not get BKB if they're playing cores, and too many low MMR players do not get force that because these items are not fun to use. If you had an Aether, that guy would have been caught in a Fire Blast. Same thing if you got an Aether plus the cast range talent. So looks like you're gonna win. A couple things I'd like to point out that I haven't had the time to yet. I don't really like your talents. I think 350 health at level 20 is pretty fucking good. 350 is so much it's almost hard to argue with, even though 30 movement speed can be a nice little bonus. But I think you should be getting the cast range almost every single game on Ogre, and I think you should almost never get the 50 damage talent. Tortodolini recommends the 50 damage talent on Ogre, which I really disagree with. I just honestly feel like Ogre's bullying of just walking up to people and right-clicking them in lane, I feel like it really stops at like the 12-minute mark or so, maybe even earlier. And by the time you're level 15, you are not in lane anymore. And 50 damage is just almost entirely irrelevant. It's only really relevant if you're hitting creeps. And 12% magic resistance can be pretty good. It works on Dark Pact, and it works on all of Invoker shit. It also works on, like, Maelstrom if Lifestealer had gotten a Maelstrom. Other than that, I think this is a pretty good game you had. You didn't have very many deaths, and you had a lot of assists, which is pretty good. Ideally, a support is going to go, like, 0-0-30, because you're not dying, you're not stealing kills, and you're getting a lot of setup for your team. You said you wanted to know what MMR you played at. I think you basically are at the MMR you should be. This is like a 2K even game. I've seen people play dumber than you at higher MMR. However, I've seen people do some really stupid shit on Ogre. Like, the common one is doing the old Purge guide to Ogre Magi from 2014, where you max Fire Blast and Ignite first, but I really feel like those guides should be removed from the guide thing because they're way out of date. Like, Bloodlust right now is a very strong ability, and it's very, very, very good. When you upgrade Ignite, you're not getting a whole lot more slow, but you are getting more burn damage. I just feel like I have better games on Ogre when I max Bloodlust first, is my feeling, because my cores just hit so much harder. Like, one of my friends plays a lot of Brewmaster. It's disgusting. He crits like once every second just with Bloodlust on. Pretty good. Just need to remember to use it more. I would not put it on autocast just because that has fucked me over when I used to do that, because I just autocast somebody right when I need to be running. It's not good. Yeah. Cool. Hope I was of some good use.